Welcome to a new series on the channel. This is going to be a passion project between myself and roughly, 40-ish other people over on the Discord server, with all of our plentiful mistakes, quirks, fun, and overall tragedy, storytelling, and the works involved. You're going to all be viewing from my own perspective, which is that of the nation of Hiklax, and hence the name of this video, A Hiklaxian History, giving you all just a brief history of the events that have come around to how Hiklax has formed, what recently occurred, and just coming to the arrival of the game's about to begin. So yeah, I'll see you all in it. Prologue, A Hiklaxian History. To the ever-persistent peoples of our modern era, we have gathered here today a few documents of which concern a world of old, a world of myths and deceit, a world of warlords and pacifists, a world of rich culture and history. This world is named Aurora. Starting with the most energetic of the bunch is a group of 12 nations. These each have their own histories, cultures, traditions, religions, and ideologies. They are the Corvanthian Despotism, the Disputed Lands, Edalan, the Hiklaxian Empire, the Corallazantaz Confederation, the Reformed Republic of Corthal, the United Kobold People's Republic of Drakeland, the Kingdom of Menzoberran, the Shadow, the Taurian Republic, Tiron, and lastly, the Wilhelmsian Commonwealth, the leaders of which we know only a few. They are the despot from the Corvanthian Despotism, Emperor Elixir Jindo from the Hiklaxian Empire, Hargrim Gromdrek from the Corallazantaz Confederation, the Lord Serpentine of the Clutch for the United Kobold People's Republics of Drakeland, the Queen of the Menzoberran Pirates of Haley Ironborn, the General President Caramel Star of the Taurian Republic, the Grand Mayor Arifan Akutis of Tiron, and lastly, the Lord Protector of Wilhelmsia, Rupert Otis Morrison. Onto the topic of this report, however, the Hiklaxian culture, from what details we can translate, is a mixture of both Russian and English stylings from the early to mid-15th century, with their naming conventions being a strange mixture of most European naming conventions of the time, combined to produce ever-perplexing and confusing differences that cross into the realm of what we would call multiculturalism. However, their architectural building style remains moderately consistent with what we view as feudalistic Russian architecture. This style can be seen in the Castle Oaten, which bears stunning resemblance to the castle residing in Astrakhan in the modern-day Caspian Electorate. This one in particular is the family castle of the Erten branch, with the emperor using it as his main castle and the location of his court. A vast majority of the contents of which we have gained center around the reformist Emperor of Elixir, or Elissi in our modern tongue. He was born in the latter half of the winter of 1766, with the exact date disputed. He ascended to the position of emperor at the youngest age in Hiklaxian history, at the age of 22, the exact day before the birth of his son. An emperor of birthright, as his court named him, Elissi had to contend with the settling down of hostilities of the democratic revolution at the beginning of his reign, which took only 2 years to fully complete. After which, Elissi had his newly founded secret police hunt down and detain all the leaders of the revolution, which ended up being a full list of 10 individuals of differing renown and authority of old. All of those arrested and detained were transported to the capital city of the Hiklaxian Empire of Hornley, and one by one, in the imperial garden, in front of thousands upon thousands of spectators, Elissi executed each of the traitors himself with his own sword. The people of Hornley saw this as what can only be told now in hindsight as sheer astonishment at the destruction of traditionalist ideals, a bespectacle of its own accord. One by one, the leaders of the revolution were executed, starting with the prime ministers of Tracy Indigo and Oloran Ethel, then going to the military officers who betrayed even his grandfather, the High Commander Octavius Heathrow, who betrayed his own father in turn, and the Admiral Kelki, who originated as a mercenary before the war and swapped sides after losing half of his fleet to stormy weather. Each of them executed with spectators watching, as none were allowed final words. When the democratic revolution had ended, a new high commander of the Hiklaxian armed forces was appointed, the father of the previous treasonous one who assisted in the revolution on the wrong side of history. The new high commander was Octavius Heathrow, who commanded the brightest and most experienced of the sharpshooters in the Civil War, and in the apprehension of the revolution's leadership he performed most excellent. The new High Commander was one of the few men that the Emperor could trust personally, and if the High Commander ever asked for anything, the Emperor would only need to know for how much. This revolution began due to a simple yet deplorable action taken by the previous Emperor, that being to detain his Prime Minister for daring to criticize the Emperor himself. The people demanded the full release of this man, to which only caused further havoc. The Prime Minister was found dead in his cell with his throat slit and a letter being found in his lap. This letter stayed within the imperial custody for generations, even outliving that of the reign of the Emperor Ulissi the Great. It is only now, in our own time and manner, that we've been able to receive a copy of this letter and discovered why the Hiklaxian Empire covered it up. Verbatim, it read as the following: "Dear fools of absolutionist monarchical rule, your reign of terror is coming to a close. With the death of this martyr, the people will rise up. The imprisonment would have been enough to topple your regime, but with this display of your nation's incompetence, the people will rise up. We're amongst not only the people, but yourselves, and they demand justice for your crimes. We'll be with you to see this out. The Forgotten." This group of traitors to the Hiklaxian Empire would never go extinct, and some even openly discussed their allegiances in our own time. From what we can discern, they relied more heavily on causing havoc and dealing political assassinations to the elite. Their methods were as brash and cold as they were cruel and senseless, normally using bladed gauntlets that extended out to display the blade proper. Their founding leader, Prime Minister Aurorian, gave himself over to the Hiklaxian Empire to continue the life of his movement, which arguably caused them the ability to live longer into the future and outliving the empire they so sought to democratize. Several years into the reign of Emperor Ulissi, his realm had started to recover from the civil war, with the armed forces once again bringing in conscription to maintain the previously high army size. The Emperor, too, had a new constitution enacted within his nation, a whole 9 articles and 30 subsections. Enacted on the 22nd of October, the renewed Hiklaxian Empire had solved an issue of the army and an issue of the civil society. The last issue of his first decade as the Emperor, however, was that of the Wilhelmsian child king, the runt of a human named Otis the 13th of the Van Wilhelmsias, fleeing and seeking safety within the Hiklaxian Empire. At first, the child's guardian fled to the Empire under secrecy, but when discovered by Hiklaxian authorities, he was given an imperial invitation to the Hiklaxian court. This issue of granting the child king of Otis the 13th asylum has caused some slight issues with the new Wilhelmsian Commonwealth. However, a few free trade deals later, and the two nations forgot all about the issue. The child king is now the last living descendant of the Van Wilhelmsias lineage that is eligible to claim the Wilhelmsian throne through birthright. This child king is a close resemblance to that of the House of Bourbon in our own history, which is to say, that of an oppressive monarch who is out of touch with his subjects. The now 16-year-old child king in exile, Otis the 13th, has petitioned the emperor to do all but invade the Wilhelmsian Commonwealth to restore him to power, and on numerous occasions has almost been thrown out of the imperial estate for his backroom dealings and duplicitous behavior. As the date has now become the 1st of January 1805, where our history lesson stops and our story begins. Hiklax and her leadership now watch as Aurora seems to tear itself apart. And with that concludes the first episode of our new series on the channel, a Hiklaxian history. And yeah, if you'd like to see the rest of it, do show your support. And if you'd like to see some early snippets of the story, then by all means come join the Discord server. Link in the description down below. As always, I hope you have all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.